Now, let's get into well, let's briefly get into some of the reasons this was done. For example, you would have an initiation of sorts, or what you would call a rites of passage for young men who were in the stage of adult essence and moving to this stage of adulthood and manhood. And in some societies, what they would have to do, they would have to leave the village, tribe, city, or wherever they're from, go into the wilderness, and because with things they're taught, they would have to know how to gather water, how to build shelter, how to kill food. And when I say kill food, I'm not only talking about animals. When we partake of an apple, vegetables, whatever it is, we're separating that from its umbilical cord or life force. So food is food. And if the young man was able to spend a sufficient amount of time in the wilderness and came back fed, hydrated, with the least amount of harm, he was then venerated and said that he was a man. And through this initiation process, from there he will be able to choose a woman as his mate. And also in certain societies, especially those who have researched that of the Amazons, women had to do the same thing. Learn how to kill, learn how to hunt and kill their food, learn how to build shelter, how to defend themselves, how to construct weapons, all of these different things. Also, in priesthoods, initiation was used as a process to make sure that the initiate learned all that was that had to be learned in order to be a priest. So not only they can be helpful to the court or the particular society or group that they were in, they will also help people or random people for their quest of spirituality, their journeys within themselves. Um, in some of the ancient cultures, when men were being accepted into priesthoods, because most likely, especially from the research I have done, the first priesthoods were mostly, if not all, women. And when men were accepted into these priesthoods to bring across balance, they had to go through the initiatory rites. They had to, in some, they had to learn how to make and empower talismans, learn how to see that which can't be seen by the naked eye or regular people, and that includes being able to see into the Akashic records or the ether, being able to see into the astral plane, to see events that happen, events that are happening now, and the possible events that could come in the future. To also learn of the science of herbs, not only knowing how to heal with them, also learning how to use them as deadly toxins. And this is where, if you go into history, you will see where different tribals or different groups of people knew how to construct arrows and throwing stars and shuriken dipped in certain poisons. So when they hit the opponent, this neurotoxin would go straight into the bloodstream, paralyze, kill, whatever. Okay? These were things that had to be done. This is part of an initiation. Now, what it has come to today, that some of the groups that practice and learn certain knowledge, certain sciences, certain magic within their groups, a lot of what we see today is a bunch of bullshit, meaning that they are accepting in neophytes and have them participating in the rituals of a negative sexual, negative homosexual connotation, blood sacrifices, you name it. For example, in certain societies or in certain groups, a young man had to be penetrated anally by an individual who was already up in ranks. And this initiation was to bring about him being a so-called self-made or well, a made man fashioned by another man or God in the group. Okay? Plus two, there's a negative intent with this because what the other applicants or hierophants may not know is the fact that these sessions are being recorded and they're being used to be hung over the heads of these different people to make sure that they behave and go according to the dictates and orders that the group on top or the members on top give them. Then you have blood sacrifices. And blood sacrifice, this goes a little bit deeper than just taking a goat or a chicken or a cat, bull, slitting their throat, letting them bleed from the neck, and also drinking the blood. No, I'm going a little deeper than that. They have blood sacrifices, and when I say sacrifices, and when I say we, I didn't mean like I was in a group. I was attempting to find the words to say. Anyway, it can be certain family members, certain friends, and if you really wish to attain status within this group, for whatever reasons, whether it's the material gain, the connections, the networking, whatever, you had to go through these so-called secret rites in order for this to be done. And this is not only done within so-called secret societies. This is done in Hollywood. This is done in some of the many places where you have a collective, and the only way you get in is if you go through this initiation, and once you go through it, and while you're going through it, you can't say nothing of any of the acts or rights that you or others have participated in. The only ones who can disseminate that information are the so-called ones on top who call the shots. Okay? Now, sometimes your blood sacrifice can be a symbolic one. It may mean having a friend who's in business. From day one when you started, and all of a sudden you have to dig up or fabricate information pointing this particular person who's supposed to be your friend, pointing them to scandal, rape, molestation, adultery, anything, to allow that person to be seen in public as a so-called negative or bad individual. Watch out for this person. And see, a lot of individuals are not aware that when you participate in groups of this sort, you're not only accepting the bull that's happening on the inside, you're also accepting the stuff that comes energetically, astrally, karmically. It's just like you can go to a place, and no matter how that place looks, you just feel a very good vibe or very good energy when you go in this place. Also, at the same time, you can be around places or people where you just know that the energy in that place is negative. and even the individuals in that place or that have been there are very negative.